All right, this is our second day in chapter 2. We are going to start out with our fill in the blank summary. Pay attention because I'm going to tell you the answers. Tim and his father. Talk about the fight his father had with Sam the night before. Tim's father explains why he thinks the family should support the king and why he thinks Sam is wrong to want to fight in the war. This conversation leaves Tim confused about what he believes about the war. We have the same focus question we had yesterday. We're just going to collect more evidence. What inner conflict does Tim have in chapter 2? Why? What does this inner conflict reveal about him as a person? Before we start reading, we have 3 vocabulary words. The first one is cordial. That is warm or friendly. So if you're cordial to someone, you might shake their hand, you might say hello. The next one is hunkered. That just means to squat down or like crouch down. And then the third one is bitter. It describes feelings people have. So if you're bitter, you're angry or you're hurt because you feel like someone has treated you badly. Great. We're going to be reading pages 32 through 37 out loud. We're going to be using our CSPS strategy. Who's Tim? Where is he? What is his problem? And how does he react to his conversation with Sam? Open your book to page 32. We're at the very bottom of page 32. Tim has snuck out of the house after church. He lied and said he was going to go help his friend move something, but instead he went to Mr. Tom Warup's shack. And Tom Warup is a Native American, and Sam, when the dad kicked him out of the house, Sam went to Tom Warup's shack, and Tom is letting Sam stay there. And so Tim found out that Sam was there, and he has snuck out of the house to go visit him. And he finds Tim with his girlfriend, Betsy Reed, in the shack. So we're at the bottom of page 32. "Hello, Tim," Betsy said. "Hello," I said, slipped inside and hunkered down by the fire. The fireplace was just a circle of stones in the middle of the floor. There was a bed made of a couple of deer hides stretched across a frame, a few pots and pans, and not much else. "I can't stay very long. I told Father I was helping Jerry Sanford move a log." "Oh, Father," he said, sounded bitter. "I heard your fight," I said. "I'm too old for him to tell me what to do anymore," Sam said. "This morning he said you were full of college boy wind," I said. "That's because I won't obey him." He picked up the stone and began jingling it hand to hand. "I guess he's still mad at me." "He cried last night after you left, Sam. Maybe he knows something about wars that you don't." Okay, I'll stop right there. So our character is Tim. Okay, and Tim is confused about whether or not he should believe in the war. So Tim is confused about whether or not he should support the war or if he should support his father. Silently write that down in box 1. Press pause if you need to, and then play for box 2. And we know that Tim went to Tom Warup's shack to visit Sam. Tim went to Tom Warup's shack to visit Sam, and he got there by sneaking out of the house. Press pause to write down your answer, and then press play when you are ready to keep reading. And so now we're looking for the problem. What is Tim's problem? Okay, and so his problem is going to come out as he is talking to Sam. We're in the middle of page 33. Nobody said anything for a minute. I picked up a stick and began to push it into the fire to see it burn. Then Betsy Reed said, "Timmy, are you on your father's side or Sam's?" Okay, pay attention. I wish she hadn't asked me that question. I didn't want to answer it. In fact, I didn't know how to answer it. "I don't understand what it's all about," I said. That's his problem. He does not understand what the war is about. So he cannot make a good decision. He can't decide if he wants to support his father or he wants to support Sam because he doesn't understand why the war is going on. Press pause to write down your answer in box 3. Now we're going to think about how do Tim and Sam respond in this conversation to each other. Bottom of page 33. "It's simple," Sam said. "Either we're going to be free or we're not." Betsy touched his arm. "It's that simple, Sam." It isn't that simple, Sam. There's more to it." "What side is your family on, Betsy?" I asked. "Oh, we're all patriots. After all, my grandfather is head of the militia." Her grandfather was Colonel Reed. Her father was Colonel Reed's son, Zalman Reed. They lived not far from Colonel Reed. "Is your grandfather going to fight the lobsterbacks?" "I don't think so," Betsy said. "He's too old. He said he would probably resign his commission to some younger man. Anyway, he doesn't think we ought to fight unless we really have to. He says there ought to be some way of working it out with the king and Parliament without having to fight." "There isn't any way to work it out," Sam said. "The British government is determined to keep us their slaves. We're going to fight." "A lot of people aren't going to fight," I said. "Around here they aren't. This is Tory country. Father, Mr. Beach, the Lyons, the Couches. Most of them in our church are Tories, and they think it's the same everywhere, but it isn't. Down in New Haven they're ready to fight, and Wyndham's already marched their militia to Boston." He was being scornful. Sam always got scornful when other people disagreed with him because he always thought he was right. Although, to be honest, a lot of the time he was right because of being so smart. But still, it was hard for me to think that Father was wrong. Okay, and so now we're thinking about Tim and Sam's reaction. And we're going to add more to these boxes. But Sam reacts to the conversation, by saying, like, we have to fight. It's our only option is to fight. So that's his first reaction. He says his only option is to fight. Press pause to write that down and then play to think about Tim. And Tim, he responds, by being skeptical, right? He is still not sure whether or not the colonists have to fight. Tim is still not sure whether or not the colonists have to fight. Let's keep reading to add to our answers. Bottom of page 34. "Sam, Father says for most people it isn't being free. It's only a few pences in taxes." "That's Father for you. It's the money that counts. There are principles involved, Tim. Either you live up to these principles or you don't, and maybe you have to take a chance on getting killed." "Who wants to get killed?" "Nobody wants to get killed," Sam said. "But you should be willing to die for your principles." "That's right," Betsy said. "But Betsy, you don't have to take a chance on getting killed," I said. "I'd fight if I could," she said. I hated arguing about it. "Well, maybe the king will change his mind and get the lobsterbacks out." Sam shook his head. "He won't. He thinks going he thinks he's going to teach us a lesson, but we're going to teach him one. We already taught him one at Lexington. That's what I mean, I said. Maybe he'll give up now. Betsy shook her head. He won't, not according to my father. Everyone was quiet for a minute. Then Sam said, "There's going to be a war. Which side are you on?" Okay, and so we can add to Sam's reaction by saying that Sam is willing to fight and die in the war because of his principles. Sam is willing to fight and die in the war because of his principles. Press pause to write that down and then play to add to Tim's reaction. Okay, and now Tim is thinking, well, Tim hopes that the king will give up and just leave the colonists alone. Press pause to write down your answer and play to get started. And you'll pick up on page 35 in your parallel teaching or in your closed reading. But go ahead and do your best to write this paragraph. What is Tim's inner conflict, and what does this reveal about him as a person?